Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. So today we're going to proceed with our chapter 4, and in this part we're going to talk about biogeochemical cycles. Okay, so in general, biogeochemical cycle is a pathway by which a chemical substance moves through the both biotic and abiotic compartments of Earth. So it is called a biogeochemical cycle. Okay, first it is a cycle because it happens in a loop. Okay, it is constantly, continuously happening. Bio because it involves all the biological components or biological elements, and geochemical because it involves with the geochemical elements as well. So there are a lot of biogeochemical cycles, and I know that you have covered these cycles in other subject as well. So in this part, we're going to have a look at two cycles only. Two cycles only, which are the carbon cycle and also the nitrogen cycle. Okay, and also because in your other subject you have gone through the general overview of the cycles, so I know you've learned about that. So in this part we're going to talk about more on the roles of the bacteria or roles of the microorganism in these cycles. Okay, so the first one is the carbon cycle. Yeah, so from the word itself, it involves carbon. We are continually cycling the carbon, yeah, from the sea to the land to the air, right? So carbon cycle has two interconnected cycles: rapid carbon exchange among the living organisms, and also the carbon cycling through the geologic processes. Okay, so these two cycles, they are interconnected, so that is why they are in a loop just like this. Okay, so this is the overview, the general overview of the carbon cycle, and I think you can read it on your own, and I also believe that you have this general knowledge already from other subject. Okay, so let's see the roles of bacteria in the carbon cycle. Okay, so first one, let's see on the cyanobacteria. Yeah, so and we know that cyanobacteria, they are heavily involved in the photosynthesis. So photosynthesis process is where we fix the carbon. So the plants take in all the carbon from the air into the organic matter, and then they will convert it into food, and food for the plants, and then they convert the carbon to oxygen for the to be released into the environment. And then the second one, we can see the role of Clostridium and also the Proteus species in the carbon cycle, because they are involved in the decomposition of the organic matter in the soil. And then also we can see some of the aerobic bacteria. Yeah, so aerobic, when we know it is an aerobic bacteria, it means that they need oxygen to live. Okay, so for example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, so it can survive and grow in oxygenated environment. Yes, because it is an aerobic bacteria, it needs oxygen. So what it does to the carbon cycle, it helps in the releasing of the carbon to the atmosphere. Okay, so this is the the general diagram showing the carbon cycle. So this is a video on the carbon cycle. I will give you the link to this video later. Okay, the second cycle that we're gonna talk about in this part is the nitrogen cycle. Yeah, so remember, when it is a cycle, it means that it is continuously and constantly happening, and it involves the nitrogen. Okay, so nitrogen cycle, the continuous sequence of natural processes by which nitrogen in the atmosphere and nitrogenous compounds in the soil are converted. Okay, because the nitrogen particle in the air and the nitrogen particle in the soil, they are in a different forms. Okay, so some of the forms can't be taken by the plant. Some of the forms can be taken of the plant. So that's why there are some processes done by the microorganisms to change the form of these nitrogen particles so that they can be used by all the biological elements. And there are few processes involved, and there are few microorganisms involved in those processes. So the first step is nitrogen fixation, and it is a bacteria of Rhizobium species that helps in the fixing the nitrogen. So the Rhizobium, usually we can find it in the root nodules of the legumes and certain other plants, and it will help to fix the nitrogen in the air into a nitrogen that can be absorbed by the plants. The second process is the assimilation. So once the atmospheric nitrogen has been converted into a nitrogen, then the plants can take the nitrogen from the soil using the absorption from the roots. And those nitrogen that have been converted, they are in the form of ions. Yeah? So it's a nitrate ions and also or ammonium ions. So this form, in the form of ions, then the plant can take the nitrogen to be absorbed through their roots. And this is done by the process of assimilation. Okay. The third process is ammonification. Okay, so when a plant or animal dies or an animal expels waste, the initial form of nitrogen is organic. Okay, so whenever all the biological component, whether it's plants or animal, they die, or when the animal they expel their waste, okay, the initial form of the nitrogen is organic. So we have to remember that. So when it is in the form of organic, it is quite difficult to be absorbed or to be released. So this is where the bacteria or the fungi, they will convert the organic nitrogen into ammonium ion. And this is the process of ammonification. The next step is nitrification. Okay, so the oxidation of the ammonium compounds in a dead organic material into nitrates and nitrates by soil nitrobacteria, making nitrogen available to plants. Okay, so just now during the ammonification, the bacteria or fungi, they help in converting the organic nitrogen into ammonium. Okay, so now these soil nitrobacteria, they help in the nitrification of the ammonium compound just now. Okay, so that they will convert from ammonia to nitrates and also from nitrates to nitrates. So now when the nitrogen, it is in this form of a nitrates, nitrates ion, then it is available to the plants. Then plants can take the nitrogen, can absorb the nitrogen. And step 5 is denitrification. Okay, so just now it is nitrification and this is denitrification. So it is when the nitrates, so remember from the last step, everything is converted to nitrates by the help with the microorganism. Then the nitrates can be absorbed by the plants. So now we have the nitrates. So the nitrates, now it is reduced back to the nitrogen gas, okay, by the bacterial action. Then it will be released back to the atmosphere. Okay, so those 5 steps, it shows how the nitrogen in the atmosphere, it is being processed by 5 these processes, and it makes it available to the plants to be absorbed. And also the last step, it tells us the role of the microorganism on converting the ion, the nitrogen ion, okay, so that it will go back to the atmospheric nitrogen form and it will be released back again into the atmosphere, and then the cycle will continue. So this is a video on the nitrogen cycle, and I will give you the link as well. Okay, so that's all for this part on the biogeochemical cycles, where we focus only on these two cycles, the nitrogen cycle and also the carbon cycles. And we were focusing on the roles of the bacteria on these two cycles. Not just bacteria, but some of them are fungi as well. So these are the students that helped me with this content, and therefore thank you.